if you all meet up on on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. to go to a church service somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How many of those people that are walking through that building have actually sat and wrestled with theology? They have fun.
Yeah.
They see their friends. It's good. They enjoy it. You know? Maybe that's what culture ultimately is are there these chess pieces of things that allow us to, we're not good communicators. We feel very weird when we look at a stranger and go, hey, I like you.
Yeah.
It makes us feel weird.
That's why we like bumper stickers.
Yeah.
It's an easy way of being like, come talk to me if you like this.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's kind of like saying, I'm looking for friends, but I know it's weird to say that because human beings
so here's
are
an
not
opinion I have.
good social animals.
Yeah.
You know, dolphins don't have a problem with going, hey, I'm looking for friends, and then 9 of them swim over with a ball. You know what I mean? Controversial topic. This will probably get us in trouble if we go down this road. But here's something I've truly been wondering lately. I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this. Maybe I have. But is there such a thing as culture anymore? Does culture exist? My guess would be that pop culture has killed real culture. So the question would be this. Like you say,
But is there a zeitgeist anymore? Everybody has their own particular niche thing. There's so many ways to get connected to stuff. I feel like maybe the death of it, like pop culture killing it, has created like a different. I think it still exists, but the way it is experienced by others is completely different. It's more scattered, maybe, I think. It used to be like when I think gay culture, it's like drag races or like drag and
shows
people meet,
and the certain bars, and
get Stonewall, whatever, But like, I guess there are people who want to make money off of it, so they're like, oh, you want to be part of gay culture, you got to buy this rainbow flag, or whatever. But I mean, there's always going to be people trying to hijack culture, so I feel like
there wasn't.
Yeah.
Do you think they recognize? Do you think at that whatever time you're talking about when there was culture, are you just looking back at it and going, that was the culture, and they're like, we don't have the same culture. Our culture. I think of it as like we're all, not all because you're not, culture. Matt Rife is a part of culture. Chappelle's a part of our culture. Like
I would consider that pop culture.
The NFL games are culture. Like Donald Trump and the split in our politics is our culture. Like that's that's what it is right now. The music, our culture right now is really immersed in sort of not the women's movement, but a change in sort of the dynamics between men and women. That we have a different culture than we had 10 years ago. That's how I think of it. I don't even know if that's the right way to think of it. I think. Well,
I don't. That's the reason I just tossed it out as a legit question. I'm not setting anybody up to say, let me tell you the answer.
Yeah.
I'm not. Bill, it's something that's been on my mind lately.
We have a social media culture. So we have a culture.
It just changes the way we experience culture. Like you could find people that like handmade cabinets like that or whatever, and like it's like if we took a poll at Greensboro, it'd be like, okay, I guess everybody here likes car washes and banks, but that's not really the cult. It's so split up now than it used to be.
Yeah. So you take like Gullah.
Yeah.
Gullah, South Carolina, coastal. Gullah, right?
I don't. I have no clue what Gullah is. No.
Okay. Slaves are brought over, and Gullah tradition, a lot of the slave culture, which was the way I'm thinking about this, it's not even opinion, it's just completely open for anybody to change my mind. But the way I'm thinking about it is you have a culture, you have a group of people, it could be 20 or it could be, 20,000 that have the same story. They might hate it, like it, but they know it.
Yeah.
Right? This is the way they make bread. In
our culture, the boy at 13 gets circumcised and has sex with his aunt. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's our culture.
And half of them liked it and half of them didn't.
Right.
Right. But that's what they do. 13, the boy gets circumcised, has sex with his aunt. That's the culture. Gullah is a group that was in. They were able to hold on to their culture for a lot longer than a lot of slave, groups, because they were kind of isolated off the island, South Carolina. Okay. So then you had things like anthropologists studying how they made baskets, and some were better than others, and some did this, but they all learned the same. I don't consider pop culture that. I'm not even positive and negating. I mean, if you know me, you know what side that I would prefer. But I'm saying I don't think the word culture applies to both of these things. Some corporation says, I think we're going to make a lot of money if we can hire The Rock to promote our, spark plugs.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Greensboro explodes. Our Yeti coolers, there's a great example.
Yeah.
They boom. And the next thing you know, there's 92 gajillion Yeti cooler bumper stickers.
And it becomes like a culture thing, but it's just a
Right.
fucking
It's not, that's not culture. You could say, well, our
What is it?
culture,
It's consumerism.
it's consumerism.
So right now it's the Stanley Cups.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
There's like it's like
Oh,
the
I
new-
thought you meant the actual hockey thing.
That's what I thought too until
Yeah.
but there's a mug or a cup. It's like another version of the Yeti cup, but now it's the Stanley Cups.
the
that people
Stanley
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being younger, and then like kids would put in like their bios on MySpace, like iPhone, Apple, Nike, Adidas, and then I was like, oh, am I weird for not having a brand?
Right.
Not like trying to sound cool, but I was just like, oh, I don't know. I didn't really feel attached to anything like that.
But
so I
that's
thought
a
it was
good,
weird.
I love that point, Seth, because you put a Yeti bumper sticker on your car, truck, or whatever, not because you have tested all the coolers,
Yeah.
and it just turns out that they have absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
That's not the reason the bumper sticker's on there, and every one of us knows. You are connecting with an image, a perceived, made-up, imaginary thing. It's the same as iPhone or Nike Swipe or any of
But
that
those
other
things
crap.
came along and were better products, and that's part of what made them sweet.
That's
Like
nothing. It has nothing to do with what made them sweet.
Yeah.
Because you could make a better cooler than Yeti now and get nowhere with it.
Yeah, Ozark Trail's fine. That's the Walmart version. Does the same thing.
But the thing, I don't know, I'm rambling a little, but it's an interesting thought to me. If you live in a community of 200 people, and I don't care what anybody says, we all know who the best hunter is. We've seen it in action.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you can't buy a bumper sticker that says I'm a great hunter, because we all know you're full of shit. Do you know what I mean? But in a community of 330 million, yeah, you can tell me you're a Marine all you want. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the amount of veteran license plates that are sold far outweighs the actual numbers of veterans.
Yeah.
Does
You
it?
know? Yes. I mean, it's,
I didn't know that.
you know what I mean? Like, you're identifying. You don't, in a society this large, you're lost. The individual is lost.
This is just ads.
So you're connecting, you're putting Nike Swipe because you have an image of what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to connect yourself to that.
Yeah.
So then other people can go, oh, that's a Braves fan.
Yeah, I think if
Yeah.
I'm just guessing that if there's whatever studies culture, is that sociologists?
Anthropologists?
Yeah, anthropology, yeah.
I feel like they, like from a view backed away from it, they would be able to describe our culture and how it's similar to the culture of a time during the Romans or a time during the Greece period, like the
Maybe.
waves that happen.
They'd probably still be into Nike.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. Let me ask you all this. Let's say we survive 800 years. Okay, I know, Tom. Let's just say.
Right.
We're being hypothetical.
I think we got some hope.
I think we got a good.
What
a
happened?
Good 800 years in us.
I've stopped reading about it and
Oh,
stopped
good. Now
reading.
you're back to a little hope. Let's say we survive 800 years, and an anthropologist looks back and describes Greensboro, North Carolina, as Waffle House, Walmart, guns, bumper stickers.
Yeah.
Let's just say, okay, I know there's more to it. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But that is predominantly
What you've seen so far.
what is going on.
Right.
And it's not Greensboro, it's the whole freaking country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People purchase frozen dinners. People purchase pre-made food. If you know someone that's making from scratch all 3 meals a day, that would be an oddity.
And that'd be all they did all day.
And that would be all they did all
Yes.
day. Well, that used to be the norm. But
Yeah.
now that's changed to prepackaged, pre-made, preservative-based food products. Even if you say, I'm going to cook at home tonight, you
Really just heating up other food.
you unthawed a lasagna.
Right.
You didn't cook it. I mean, technically you cooked it at home, but you didn't make it. You know what I mean? Is that culture? I purchased this at a grocery store and put it in an oven. Is that our cooking culture? You know, that's the question.
We're losing recipes. I heard someone say that the other day.
We're losing recipes.
It was on, I forget what it was on. I think it was on ESPN. He was like, now these kids, they don't know how to cook. They don't want to cook. We're losing recipes. He just,
I love it. We're losing recipes.
I'm mad about recipes.
he got so fired up. It
That's
was
great.
amazing. We're losing recipes.
I love that. And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Stephen Chef Smith. He's just yelling about
Yeah.
these brownies. They can't just buy them. You got to mix them with the eggs. We're losing the touches.
No, but I remember being younger and being like learning about Inuits, you know, like there's a
Right.
culture. It's like, okay, we whale hunt, we whatever. And then being younger and being like, man, what is Winfield's culture, you know? Like, we have a McDonald's, we have a Wendy. We don't have, like, a restaurant that's like, that's the, and then again, that's consumed, you know? It's like, it's
Is
hard
it considered culture?
yeah, it's like weird. I mean, but we like to hunt. People there hunt all the time.
Right.
So that's, you know, it's
I would
hate,
consider that culture.
yeah, I hate how we have to like think about like what do we do, but the first thing we think of is what we buy when it should be what we do. Like we like hunting. We everybody that you go to church. I mean there
I
is
consider
a
that
culture.
culture.
Yeah, I mean there is culture.
I think of
but-
like workplace culture. Like we need to. That's one of like the phrases you'd probably hear in corporate. Like we need to change the culture of this office. We need to change the. You know.
Well, that's a good question too, because I didn't think about that. If someone says
Corporate culture. We have there's a corporate culture. There's a, you know, some of that maybe. I'm
corporate culture. Yeah, I don't know. That might be. I might categorize that as culture. I mean, to be honest with you, this is how ridiculous it is. I didn't even look up the definition of culture. I've just been thinking about this while I'm driving around. Like Inuit is a good example. Like to me, if you say, you know, this is the way that we processed whale blubber or you know, seal or whatever, and then we use this for that, and we use this bone as needles to sew up, you know, hide or whatever.
Yeah.
That's culture. But then if you say, well, our culture now is, you know, a McDonald's opened, I don't consider that culture anymore.
Of course, yeah.
I understand you're eating, both
Yeah.
instances you're eating, but I don't consider, in my mind, you're not able to purchase culture.
Once you commodify it, it's not really culture.
It's not, in my mind. You're taught.
Yeah.
Okay, the arts and the definition.
Recipes.
We're losing recipes.
Yeah, the definition of culture is put the flour, preheat the oven to 235.
It is.
It's a recipe. See what I did there? Okay. The definition of culture is the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively.
Oh, you know another thing. I mean, I guess high school football is a pretty big culture still.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about like where I grew up. That was big.
Yeah.
It's like things like that, but it's like it's hard. It's weird that that's not the first thing we think of when we think of small towns.
The customs,
should be,
arts,
you know.
social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation's people or other social group. So right now, in the United States, the customs are our customs are. I don't even know what you would say our customs are.
Well, I think high school football would be, especially in small towns.
Arts.
And I think, you know, religion.
Going to church on Sunday,
Going to
doing the
church.
Pledge of Allegiance, doing
Yes.
the singing the national anthem at ball games, watching sports on weekends,
Going to the fair.
you know, like
Small
that's our
towns-
culture.
small town fairs.
Watching television, watching them, you know, that's what.
Now we're starting to veer,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
You're right.
But that's
You
our
gotta-
art.
You gotta
Our art
pay to get
is
in the state fair.
our art is television. A
No,
lot of our art.
Hollywood is not art. Hollywood is capitalism. Occasionally they fuck
it's
up and art
capable.
gets through.
Yeah.
Hollywood is not interested in, let me go find the best writer. They're interested in the most sellable. So it's a capitalist-driven system.
Well, that's how they measure success now. It's like, ooh, horrible weekend at the box office for blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
Right.
that was my favorite movie I've seen in forever. And it's like everybody, no one went and saw it.
Yeah, they're not looking.
The social institutions and achievements. So, what's our country achieved, or our society achieved? We're going back. We're going up into outer. We're going back into outer space.
Yeah, I mean, looking at achievements. If
I don't know what
you
we've
want to interject like positive, like
Yeah.
that's the problem. Is who's dictating what's a positive, achievement.
the customary beliefs, social norms. So yeah, we have culture. The culture is the combination of those things. So we have the things that make that up, right? We have beliefs, we have social norms, we have.
Yeah. And I think it's just like maybe that consumerism or like these commercial like entities are trying to hijack that all the time, and they've been doing it for years.
And they're good at it.
Yeah, and that's why it's like Coke. When you think America, it's like, oh, Coke, and it's like, no, that's a product. Like, what's the actual? And it's like that's what they did. They're like, oh, we'll attach ourselves to this culture, and then that's why I want a Coke right now.
Yeah, I think I'll tell you what happened. What set me thinking about it.
Yeah.
Was I was in line at a gas station, and this two guys in front of me, and one guy goes, "Man, every time I see you, you have a new pair of shoes." And I looked down at the guy's shoes, and they were, I mean, hello, like these damn shoes were not subtle at all. They were big, bright, pink, loud, kind of. Glitter, sparkle.
I would say we have a shoe culture in this country right now.
Well, that is exactly where I started to think that. And so the one guy goes, every time I see you, you have a new pair of shoes on. And the other guy goes, it's black culture, buddy. Blah, blah, blah. They were both black,
Okay.
And I was thinking, that's not black. What are you, tennis shoes? Purchasing shoes, because you think they're cool, that's not black culture. You know what I mean? Black culture is big, lush, beautiful, thick history of stories and all these recipes and religion and music and jazz and all this stuff. Yeah. It's not because you've got, pajamas with the word diva on the ass. That's not.
Yeah, but
you
it
can't
is.
go
But
to
culture,
a store and purchase it. It has to be something that has been handed down and taught. And whether you hate it or love it is not the issue with culture. This is what we do as a group. You know what I mean?
But that's
they kind of do that.
But
with
they
the
do
shoes,
that. That is a
well,
thing.
that's
with
the
shoes.
argument. That's the reason I'm driving down the road
Yeah.
thinking to myself, well, is it culture? Is it not? Because my gut tells me it's not, because it's pop culture. Because the shoe thing isn't. It's not going to be around. You're not going to. If you see a Yeti bumper sticker in 10 years, it's going to be made fun of because it's on a used car in some lot somewhere.
But the shoe culture has grown from being just like when
Sneakerheads.
When
yeah.
it's been
sneakerheads
around forever.
but not. It's like it's not really. It's like the Jordan era sort of start. Jordan, maybe Converses were a little bit of
Bird
shoe culture.
and Irving.
But that's that right around then is when they start, and then since then now it's like, like I have a son that has 12 pairs of sneakers that he wears, and he keeps certain pairs clean and doesn't hardly
But I
wear
see
them.
where Stuart's coming from. It's like to those companies, it's like, yeah, this is culture. You want to be a part of this? Buy our shit.
Yeah, but how is that different than say like whatever? I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but like the Erykah Badu headdress, like that's a part of a culture, like a culture that there was the.
And then Nike made an ad like, oh, you want our
But
headshots.
like the culture you're describing, there was a certain way most people dressed. They wore a thing. They wore their head a certain way because that was the culture.
Yeah.
But that was just the sneakers of that time that lasted for 100 years.
My question would be this. I think I think this is where I draw the line, and I'm probably wrong, is if you grew up and the head wrap was put on by your mother or your grandmother, and they taught you the meaning, why is this? And or maybe they didn't even teach you. Maybe it was just you knew it from being in that culture. It's just something you knew. That's culture. If you put the head wrap on because of this album this musician that you just mentioned, you saw her with the head wrap, and then you went and got one too. That's not culture.
So that is sort of what what you're saying is that's sort of when people say you've appropriated our culture. That's what appropriating the culture is going like, oh, that's from the culture, but I like that as a style.
Right. That's style. It's consumerism. It's trend. It's not culture. But I could be completely wrong.
I don't think. But I think sneakers. Maybe I'm just being. It obviously is consumer driven. But it's obviously it's sort of become a part of our culture that wasn't there before, and now it's like something like I've never been a watch wearer, but now but jeans and a t-shirt now, like our culture is like it just dresses it up. You know what I mean? Now
putting a watch on,
watches on, and now there's sort of a culture of like different people which watches they're wearing and blah blah blah. I guess and
it's come back, but it's been here
shoes
before.
Shoes that match your shirt or match your. That was never a thing, I don't think.
Yeah.
And
it was at one point. Watches, especially men's watches, come and go. As far as trends and styles.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they've been huge, and then kind of gone away, and then they'll come back, like all trends. But
I think for
the
me
shoe
too,
thing. Oh, go ahead.
I think for me too, it's like car culture. Like it's a lot of that. It's expensive. You got to buy parts.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But then when the people
think of that as hobbies.
When the people meet up and just communicate with each other, then I think that's a community, and then I think that's when it becomes culture.
I would agree.
Okay.
It's like when people, just like sneakerheads, like if they go to a sneaker con, sure, they're buying and selling stuff, but if they're like, oh, these are the pair that blah, 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 and then like people are sharing, that's when it's culture, I guess. I feel like that's what.
Do you both see where I'm interested in thinking about this? Because I don't know the answer, and there's so many gray areas.
Yeah.
And also, I'm fully admitting that I think I'm wrong. I think my deep gut feeling on this is kind of wrong, and so then I'm interested in where I'm wrong. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I do like that sort of idea where you're like, oh, here's a words we use all the time and blah blah blah. But you're right. I don't really understand the definition. And
what is the definition of culture?
That's the thing that Trundy was talking to us about. He's like, we have so many sort of arguments and conversations where we don't even know that we don't even have a starting point of what's the definition of this word that we are now arguing about.
Yeah, because that's the thing I've been saying lately is because it occurred to me. It's like someone says, well, that's what America is. If I'm going to have an argument about America, I want to start with this. Give me your definition of America.
Yeah.
Because there's a shitload of them. And I want to know where you're coming from, and you need to know where I'm coming from, too. Otherwise, what's the point in discussing America?
Yeah.
But, like, you take, like, Harley, motorcycles.
Yeah.
To me, my gut reaction says this. You got a bunch of guys in the 30s that are vamping up these Harleys, and they meet and they have a club, and all the way through like the 60s when they've got leather jackets with the their patch or whatever. I can be for that or against it. I can be for motorcycles or against them, but that's culture to me.
Yeah.
Once Harley starts into serious capitalism, and they're branding the thing, and then it goes to where China owns them now, or I forget what they're not made in America.
So they take a culture and they turn it into a
Yeah.
They flip it. They take it from this is something some people were doing, and then someone went, we can make money on that.
Yeah.
Then it stopped being culture. And now it's branding and consumerism, or whatever words you want to use. So now you can still, in my mind, this is all gut opinion.
Yeah.
You can meet up with some dudes and have a great time and work on your bikes, and then now you're getting back to the culture of bikes. But putting a bumper sticker on the back of your window, a Harley bumper sticker
Okay.
on the back of your window, when you don't own a bike, that ain't culture.
Maybe it's just like we're stuck in this consumerism shit. Maybe that's just people's way of being like, I need something. I need to be part of something. We all want to be a part of something. It's so human. So it's like, this is what I got. I got a sticker.
Boom.
And then someone comes up and goes, hey, I like it. And then it's like, no, that's what we want. To talk to somebody about it or whatever. Most of the time. Sure, there are people who just want to fit in. But most of the time, I feel like it's like, we have to be a part of something.
And I feel like I'm a
sometimes
Harley guy. Do you own a Harley? No. Have you ever owned a Harley? No. But I'm just kind of a Harley guy.
Yeah.
I feel like we when a year or two ago when we had the conversation about capitalism and art, we ran into a similar thing of like does culture exist until until capitalism takes it over, like until it becomes that sort of, now it's a product, and then that's where the separation happens for you. So culture in a way is a reflection of, it does, part of it, culture is our arts. So is it a similar line of when it stops being art and when it stops being culture and becomes where capitalism comes in? Because that was sort of your argument back then. You're like, it stops being art as soon as the capitalism comes into it.
It might.
So does it stop
The
being culture in a
mindset-
similar way, or do we just have a consumer culture?
Well, let me say this, and as I'm pitching this out there as an argument, okay? If let's say that Seth writes a script and it's good, and he sat down to write it because he thought this is a great story, and I want to see if I can mold this into a really good script, for a movie, and he loves. So, in other words, he did not start from a position of, I want to make a lot of money. He's like, this is a great story. I'd love to see this on the big screen, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes into a meeting with United Artists. And if they sit down thinking, can we make money on this, yes or no? Well, then I got a problem with that. I don't have a problem with capitalism. I have a problem with you now calling yourself an art industry. You're not. Because if things are coming in the door and you're thinking, my God, this is a great story. How are we going to make this? We're not going to make a lot of money on this, so we're going to have to do it on a kind of a shoestring budget here, but this has to be made. This is incredible. Yeah. Now you can make an argument that you are a capitalist business that is trying to maneuver its way to make some great art. But flip it, and you can't make that argument. And that's when the word culture, I just don't feel like you can accurately apply that word there.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it's just like, I don't know, I've been thinking about this while we were talking about it, like the Stanley Cup stuff. Like, I'm just like,
it's a coffee cup, right?
Yeah. And it's like, for me, it's like, it's stupid. But then I think, like, I don't know, if there were people sitting outside of Target or whatever waiting for this new Stanley Cup to drop, and then they have a memory with each other in the park. Oh, remember that time we were in the parking lot waiting for that, and you said this, and then that blah blah blah, and then people remember, like, come together that way. That part of me is just like, who gives a shit? That's cool that people came together for a thing. Kind of a dumb way for me personally, but I remember being a kid and being like, oh, the new Call of Duty's coming out, and people would stay out in front of GameStop.
And there was a culture of you guys that were out there.
And it's like, you remember that time we were there, and there was that weird dude who peed in the bucket, and it's like, when it comes to that, part of me is just like, who gives a shit? That's cool. Like, we remember that.
Yeah, I can't say I'm mad about it.
Yeah.
I'm not running around, Yeti sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it. I don't give a damn if you want to wait 9 hours to get a Stanley Cup thing or whatever. What the hell do I care? You know what I mean? If you enjoy that, then do it. It's interesting to think if someone said, well, Stanley Cup's a big part of our culture now.
Yeah.
Is it?
It does make my tummy feel funny saying that.
Yeah. Isn't it kind of, I don't know.
I feel like out of respect for hockey, the Stanley Cup should be hard to get.
Yeah.
Tom constantly looking for the jokes makes me happy. I mean, I would say, I don't know if there's, like, I would say Call of Duty was not part of our culture.
Yeah.
you guys connecting was cool as hell,
Yeah.
and getting together and getting to hang out. It was almost like that was an excuse, which is an argument for it being part of the culture, because isn't that kind of what, when we get right down to it, if you all meet up on, on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. to go to a church service somewhere,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? How many of those people that are walking through that building have actually sat and wrestled with theology?
That's a
They have fun.
Yeah.
They see their friends. It's good. They enjoy it. You know? Maybe that's what culture ultimately is are there these chess pieces of things that allow us to, we're not good communicators. We feel very weird when we look at a stranger and go, hey, I like you.
Yeah.
It makes us
Again,
feel weird.
That's why we like bumper stickers.
Yeah.
It's an easy way of being like, come talk to me if
Right.
you like this.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's kind of like saying, I'm looking for friends, but I know it's
Yeah.
weird to say that because human beings
So here's
are
an
not
opinion I have.
Yeah.
good
You-
social animals.
Yeah.
You know, dolphins don't have a problem with going, hey, I'm looking for friends, and then 9 of them swim over with a ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe putting a Harley sticker, and then someone else goes, oh, I'm into Harley too. And you guys never ride because neither one of you own bikes.
Yeah.
And but you guys hang out.
But is that just in our culture, or do you go to another place?
I don't know.
You go to another country, and it's like they don't have any problems talking to each other.
I don't know. I've been to Canada and Mexico. That's it. I would love to know. I don't know.
Right.